actually.
Oh, that's so pretty. Right now she's sweet. Does she know we're about on? Yeah. Okay. If I should.
Yeah, E flat will work, I think. Hi, Pam. Well, I think the E flat. I think there we go. Yeah, there we go. I better get that go ahead, I guess. Although we should pretty much start. That gets cold in here. I should have warned you. Hi, how are you, Avery? Good. How's your dad? Coming along? Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Once more, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Great to see all of you today. I want to welcome, as always, all that you bring with you to this place, all of your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, all that makes you who you are. And I really mean that. It's actually kind of the topic of my sermon today. Even the little devils and demons that you bring are welcome. And this includes, of course, those who are in the room with us here today, as well as those who are streaming with us this morning. We're very grateful to know that you're with us as well. I don't have any special announcements today, so I want to take a few extra minutes to let you greet one another. I hope, as always, you'll say hi to those that you look forward to seeing each Sunday. Make some new friends today. And if you are joining us for the first time, please don't be shy, because we're very glad that you're here. Thank you. We'll have more opportunity, as always, to visit during our social hour. But for now, let's move forward with our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For this 1 hour, Spirit of life, we let go. For this 1 hour, may we let go of our anxieties, our fears, our angers, our self-doubts, our regrets, our petty grievances, and our distractions. If only for this 1 hour, let the flame of our chalice burn them from our hearts and minds and light our way to peace and serenity for this one holy hour.
And before we sing, I want to just take a couple minutes to talk to you. You will notice that you have in your order of service a paper copy of our music survey that starts this week and runs through the second Sunday in February. What we would love from you, members, is an overview of the music in our services so that we can get a better bead on what serves you, and that will be helped if you answer the questionnaire. You can do the paper copy, or you can go to the church's website, and you will see the place to click right up in the left-hand corner, and you'll be able to go online to do that if you would like. So please take some time to do that, and please do an overview if you can. You don't have to turn this in the day. You can wait for a couple weeks, or you can think a little bit. We just would like your opinion. Thank you so much. We are starting off this morning to sing Jacob's Ladder, by the way, which is a clue to the sermon. So please stand as you're willing and able. It's number 211 in your book if you choose the book, or it's on the screen. Thank you. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing on. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher. We are climbing on. If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? We are climbing on. Though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, we are climbing on.
Good morning. Am I loud enough? Yes? Good. I'm Bonnie Overly, and the story I chose for the story today is called The Fall of Freddie the Leaf. So do I have any children who would like to join me this morning for this awesome story? There's one. All right. Oh my gosh, it's a crowd. I don't know. Here comes one more. Wonderful. Thanks, you guys. It's a great story. You're going to love it. It's written by Leo Buscaglia. I think you've heard a lot about this wonderful man who's also written amazing children's books. This is one of them. Okay. Spring had passed, and so had summer. Freddie the Leaf had grown large. His midsection was wide and strong, and his 5 extensions were firm and pointed. He had first appeared in spring as a small sprout on a rather large branch on the top of a very tall tree. Freddie was surrounded by hundreds of other leaves, just like himself, or so it seemed. Soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree. Alfred was the leaf next to him, Ben was on his right side, and Claire was right overhead. They had all grown up together. They had learned to dance in the spring breezes, bask lazily in the summer sun, and wash off in the cooling rain. But it was Daniel who was Freddie's best friend. He was the largest leaf on the limb and seemed to have been there before everyone else. It appeared to Freddie that Daniel was also the wisest leaf among them. It was Daniel who told him they were part of a tree. It was Daniel who explained that they were growing in a public park. And it was Daniel who told them the tree had strong roots which were hidden below the ground. He explained about the birds who came to sit on their branch and sing each morning. He explained about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the seasons. Freddie loved being a leaf. He loved his branch, his light leafy friends, his place in the sky, the wind that jostled him about, the sun rays that warmed him, the moon that covered him with soft, white shadows. Summer had been especially nice. The long, hot days felt good, and the warm nights were peaceful and dreamy. There were many people in the park that summer. They often came and sat under Freddie's tree. Daniel told them that giving shade was part of his purpose. What's a purpose? Asked Freddie. Well, it's a reason for being, Daniel answered. To make things more pleasant for others. It's a reason for being. To make shade for old people when they're in their hot homes is a reason for being. To provide a cool place for children to come play. To fan with our leaves the picnickers who come and eat on checker tablecloths. Those are all reasons for being. Freddie especially liked the old people. They sat so quietly on the cool grass and hardly ever moved. They talked in whispers of times past. The children were fun too, and even though sometimes they drilled a hole in the bark or a tree and carved their names into it, still, it was fun to watch them move so fast and love so much. But Freddie's summer soon passed. It vanished on an October night. He had never felt so cold. All the leaves shivered with the cold. They were coated with a thick layer of white which quickly melted and left dew, drenching them in the sparkling morning sun. Again, it was Daniel who explained that they had experienced their first frost, the sign that it was fall and what was soon coming? Winter was soon coming. Almost at once, the whole tree, in fact, the whole park, was transformed into a blaze of color. There was hardly a green leaf left. Alfred had turned a deep yellow, then became a bright orange. Claire was a blazing red. And Freddie was red, gold, and blue. How beautiful it looked. All the trees on the leaf, all the leaves on the tree became a beautiful rainbow. Why did we turn different colors, Freddie asked, when we are on the same tree? Each of us is different. We have had different experiences. We've had faced the sun differently. Why should we not have different colors? Daniel told Freddie that this was a wonderful season called fall. Well, one day a very strange thing happened. The same breezes that in the past had made them dance began to pull and push at their stems, almost as if they were angry. This caused some of the leaves to be torn from their branches and swept up in the wind, tossed about, and dropped onto the ground. All the leaves became frightened. "What's happening?" they asked each other in whispers. "It's what happens in fall," Daniel told them. "It's the time for leaves to change their home. Some people call it to die." "Will we die?" Freddie asked. "Yes," Daniel answered. "Everything dies, no matter how big or small, how weak or strong. We first do our job. We experience the sun and the moon, the wind and the rain. We learn to dance and laugh, and then we die." "I won't die," said Freddie with determination. "Will you, Daniel?" "Yes," asked Daniel, "when it's my time." "When's that?" asked Freddie. "No one knows for sure," Daniel responded. Freddie noticed that the other leaves continued to fall. He thought it must be their time. He saw that some of the leaves lashed back at the wind before they fell. Others simply let go and dropped. Soon the tree was bare. "I'm afraid to die," said Freddie. "I don't know what's down there." "We all fear what we don't know, Freddie. It's natural." Daniel reassured him, "Yet you're not afraid when spring became summer, and when summer became fall. They're natural changes. Why should we be afraid of the season of death?" "Does the tree die too?" asked Freddie. "Well, someday, but there is something stronger than the tree. It's called life. It lasts forever, and we're all a part of it." "Well, where do we go when we die?" "No one knows for sure. That's the great mystery." Will we return in the spring? We may not, but life will. That afternoon, in the golden light of dusk, Daniel let go. He felt effortless. He seemed to smile peacefully as he fell. "Goodbye for now, Freddie," he said. Then Freddie was alone, the only leaf on the tree. Soon, he fell. As he fell, he saw the whole tree for the first time, how strong and firm it was. He was sure that it would live for a long time, and he knew that he had been part of its life. It made him feel very proud. He did not know that spring would follow winter and that snow would melt into water. He did not know that what appeared to be useless dried self would join the others and become new leaves in the spring. And that's the end. Thank you. Shall we sing our children out?
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
Thank you, Alicia. More to come. For now, we're going to light our candles of care for those we're most thinking of this morning. And have quite a list here. We want to start with a candle for our friend Scott Fitzgerald. Everyone knows Scott. He is usually kind enough to make our coffee on Sunday mornings, but he took a fall this week and hurt his back and his leg and is at home recovering from that. So has asked that we keep him in mind this morning and hope for quick healing and nothing too serious. Also, a candle for Herb Bonello, who was hospitalized this weekend due to a blood infection, and Brian tells me that Herb may end up in rehab for several weeks, but he wants us to be thinking of him and also is looking forward to being back here at church with us. Also, a candle for Karen and John Hedrick. Karen entered into home hospice care this week, so please keep them in your thoughts as well. And a candle for Joan Healy Harthill, who is having some heart issues at this time. And then a candle for Claire Serling Hansen. You may not recognize that name, but Claire is the person who's usually here on Sundays with an adorable little boy named Lincoln, who is just learning to walk and runs around the church after services. She called me last night to let me know that her stepfather had a fatal heart attack this week, which has been incredibly shocking for their entire family. So she asked for a candle to be kindled for her and her mom and everybody else who's dealing with this very sudden loss. So let's take a moment of silence, as always, on behalf of others we might be thinking of, and of course you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
Let us open our minds to the challenge of reason, open our hearts to the healing of love, open our lives to the calling of conscience, open our souls to the comfort of joy.
My reading today is a beautiful excerpt from Hill Gibran's The Prophet. And a student said, "Speak to us of self-knowledge." And he answered, saying, "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea. And the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasures. And seek not the depths of your knowledge with staff or sounding line, for self is a sea boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. Alicia Jones, thanks again for being here and sharing your talent with us today. Quite beautiful. Sharing your demon, might I say. I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons I eventually became a Universalist is because I saw The Exorcist when I was 9 years old, and it scared the hell out of me. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank Linda Blair for setting me upon my spiritual journey at such an early age. So back in those days, my parents didn't ever pay for sitters. So if they wanted to see a movie, they put us all in the station wagon, and we went to the drive-in because drive-ins were still around. and saw whatever they saw. So it wasn't exactly child abuse, but certainly taking 4 kids, ages 4 through 11, to see one of the scariest, perhaps the scariest horror film of all times was irresponsible. It's kind of fun to joke about, but I will admit, not only did the movie terrify me, it traumatized me. I mean, for years. I spent most of that night just with my hands covering my eyes, and my brother and I slept together for months after that. And I couldn't bring myself to watch that movie again until I was in my 30s. Not long after seeing The Exorcist, it so happens my father thought it a good idea that my brother and I should start attending the neighborhood Baptist church to represent the family, as he put it. During our first visit, we were sent to the Sunday school, where it so happens the teacher presented a timeline of the future, according, of course, to the book of Revelation. And while explaining this really graphic timeline, which spanned the entire wall of the classroom, he told us that there was going to come a time during the millennium in which God was going to release Satan from his chains in hell to let him rule over the earth, torturing and tormenting his subjects. There was even a picture of the devil tormenting people by putting sores on their bodies. I mean, I could see this. Great for a Sunday school experience. I now know that this is all pure fantasy, recent elections notwithstanding. But back then, being a kid, hearing an adult explain the teachings of a book that they told me was infallible, I believed it was as true as it was terrifying. You mean, even if I do what God wants, I asked, he's still going to let the devil torture me? Yes, the Sunday school teacher replied, to test our faith. That hardly seemed fair. And I knew, given my record on tests in those days, it's one that I would likely fail. And truthfully, between being chained to a dungeon wall and tortured by a demon or stroking Satan's ego a little, I'm going to go with the latter. You know? Sure, Satan, you're the best. So what if the Bible says Yahweh is the real winner? The Bible is fake news. As one who went on to become a Southern Baptist and to prepare for the Southern Baptist ministry, I continued to believe in a personal devil and the power of his legion of demons to tempt and possess and torment people well into my youth and young adulthood. As I look back on all of it, the ability that our society has to perpetuate such nonsense by twisting the tender minds of children in ways that traumatize and shape us for a lifetime truly does seem diabolical. Fortunately, I outgrew such insanity during my college education, but the wounded inner child in me remained paralyzed for a lot longer. Part of my recovery from Christian fundamentalism involved my delving into Jungian psychology early on and a lot of other interpersonal work during my 20s and my 30s, which taught me the importance of facing my fears, and that the source of those fears and anxieties are often but misunderstood, suppressed, yet very important parts of oneself. This point was brought home for me when I saw yet another psychological horror movie about demons, Jacob's Ladder. Released in 1990 when I was 26 years old, Peggy and I had gone to the theater to see it with another couple, and I remember all of us being completely confused by it, not liking it all, right up until the final 2 minutes, when the entire thing is suddenly transformed from a tale of darkness and demons and torment into what had been a story of angels and light all along. Today, Jacob's Ladder remains on my top 10 list of movies. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, and I don't care to spoil it for you because it's been 30 years, so, you know. The movie is about a Vietnam veteran suffering with PTSD, Jacob Singer, who's trying to reestablish a normal life after returning home from the war. But before long, Jacob begins seeing demons and finds himself living in two different realities, not knowing which one is real. Were it not for Lewis, his kind-hearted chiropractor, Jacob would have no solace from the horror of his hallucinations. After Lewis rescues him from a hospital where he's being restrained and seemingly tormented, Jacob tells the cherubic chiropractor that he feels like he's in hell. You ever hear of Meister Eckhart? Lewis asks. Eckhart saw hell too, after positioning Jacob for another spine adjustment. You know what he said? The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of your life. Your memories, your attachments, they burn them all away. But they're not punishing, he said. They're freeing your soul. Okay, other side. He helps Jacob turn, then crack. Another adjustment. Wonderful, Lewis continues. The way he sees it, if you're frightened of dying and holding on, you'll see devils tearing away at your life. But if you've made peace with the devils, they're really angels freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. So don't worry, okay? Relax. Wiggle your toes. In the end, Jacob is in his ex-wife's apartment, looking at the old photos of their life together, including a picture of his deceased son, Gabe, who'd been killed in a car wreck before the war even began. He hears the familiar tinkling of a music box coming from the hallway and steps into the corridor where the music abruptly stops. He sees someone standing beneath the stairwell down the hall. Who is it? He asks. Who's there? As he hesitantly steps toward the figure, he realizes it's Gabe. That the demon he'd been so afraid to face was his precious child, holding the music box that had appeared in some of his nightmares. Come on, Dad, Gabe says, taking Jacob by the hand and leading him up the staircase. You know what we've got? A sandbox, just like Willinston's, only it's bigger and the sand is all white. And my parakeet, remember the one that Grandma let out of its cage? He's okay. And he's talking now. He knows my name. Gabe's voice trails off as they're both embraced in a blinding light. And after a moment, that light flashes off to reveal an army doctor removing his surgical mask with a somber expression. He's gone. We suddenly see Jacob Singer's deceased on the operating table. He'd never left Vietnam. He'd been on the operating table the entire time, struggling to live and struggling to let go. As the screenplay says, last couple lines, an orderly wheels Jacob's body past rows of other doctors and nurses fighting to save lives. A young Vietnamese boy pulls back a screen door to let them out of the tent. It is a bright, fresh morning. The sun is rising. Bruce Joel Rubin, the screenwriter of Jacob's Ladder, and also of Ghosts that came out that same year, says that it began as a dream. I'm in a subway station late at night. I'm traveling through the bowels of New York City. There are only a few other people on the train, and he's seized with a terrible loneliness. Moments later, he gets off the train onto the subway platform. All the exits are locked, and he feels that he's never going to see daylight again. My only hope, he says, is to jump onto the tracks and enter into the tunnel, the darkness. The only direction from there is down. I know the next stop of my journey is hell. Reuben wakes up in a sweat, panting with the singular thought, what a great idea for the opening of a movie. I don't recall if I had any dreams after watching Jacob's Ladder, but I was so moved by its message, by this point that demons are what angels look like through the eyes of fear, that I decided it was time for me to face the demon that had frightened me so long ago. But I decided to get my feet wet first by renting the newly released Exorcist 3, starring George C. Scott, which had also come out in 1990. It had been 17 years since the original Exorcist. A Catholic priest, when that Catholic priest invited the demon-possessed little girl into himself and leaped out an upper-story window to free her and plummet to his own death. Or so we thought. In the sequel, however, he survived and has been in a coma in a cell at the psychiatric hospital until he awakens, still possessed. It wasn't a very good movie. I fell asleep watching it. But while I was asleep, I had the most amazing dream. It's true. Someone asked me if, that was a real dream. This is a real dream. Well, I find myself descending a stairwell into a dungeon where a demon-possessed child has been locked away in a cold, dank cell. I enter the room and a moment later become paralyzed as this boy tries to take over my body. I struggle to regain control and start wrestling with him. And to my surprise, discover that he doesn't have supernatural strength. Then our wrestling turns into an embrace, and I invite him to come up into the light with me. As we start up the stairwell, 2 police officers try to stop us, and I use a couple of swift Aikido moves on them and throw them down the stairs. And we soon encounter a family walking towards us, an African family that I recognize as my family. And they're also happy because they haven't seen me for a while. Our mother, this beautiful round-faced matriarch, embraces me. Then I tell them all that I have a surprise for them. I step aside to reveal my long-lost brother standing behind me, her long-lost son. She weeps, and the entire family surrounds him with love, and I awake. What a dream. And as I reflected on this dream, and have reflected on this dream for years now, I felt that the possessed boy represented the part of me that had been traumatized all those years ago by my fear of demons and devils. But upon facing this fear, by descending into the unconscious dungeon where I grappled with that suppressed part of myself and realized there's nothing supernatural, or should I say unnatural, about him at all, that he's only human, by wrestling with him, I'm able to embrace that lost part of myself. That's when I realized that The Exorcist isn't a movie about a possessed child, but about a little girl oppressed by her culture. In the movie, the only signs that she's possessed are just normal childhood behaviors. exaggerated out of proportion. She dislikes the man that her newly divorced mother is dating. Who wouldn't? She urinates when she feels like it. She spits up her split pea soup. Can't blame her. And certainly doesn't like religion being shoved down her throat. Isn't this kind of blowing things out of proportion what many of us experienced from adults during our childhoods and adolescence? When we resisted potty training, being told when and when not to let go. When we were called terrible for throwing tantrums, for saying no, or being angry when we were barely two. When we are told to eat what's in front of us and like it. To take it all in without question, without talking back. And when all this happens, we are forced to conform, afraid of being punished or of losing the love of those we depend on, and a part of us gets locked away. The spontaneous, authentic part, the original us, and we learn instead to be the person that we are expected to be rather than the person we are deep down inside. Psychologist Alice Miller once spoke of the poor rich child, referring to those who often come from well-off families and supportive parents, yet nonetheless suffer severe depression. Quite often, she explained, we are faced here with gifted patients who have been praised and admired for their talents and their achievements. Almost all of these patients were toilet trained in the first year of their infancy. And many of them at age 1.5 to 5 had helped capably take care of their younger siblings. This doesn't mean that we don't have to learn when to hang on and when to let go, a lifelong learning that begins with potty training and may not end until, as Jacob's ladder suggests, the last breaths of our life. Yet as Alice Miller discovered, if we're forced to start holding on too early, to grow up and get control of ourselves, the oppression becomes suppression. And that suppression can turn into depression. That's why so many of us search for something more, so that we can find what's been there all along, the part of us we've repressed that belongs in the light, our humanness, longing to be embraced by humanity. We say we're trying to find or discover ourselves, and when we do, we call it an awakening, because like the little boy in my dream, the part of us that gets paralyzed and falls asleep or unconscious emerges from that unconsciousness to be embraced in the light, to be expressed. Society, represented by the law enforcement officers in my dream. That was before they had tasers, by the way, so I wouldn't try that today. These internalized censors, if you will, social censors, may try to keep us down, but true humanity, represented by the African family, the first peoples, the original peoples, our Genesis, the great mother of us all, embraces all that makes us human. She accepts those things we learned to be ashamed of when we were young, the thoughts and the feelings and the desires we're supposed to control and suppress. Such suppression, however, is hard to overcome because it's reinforced by our shame-based culture, especially by its fall redemption theology that insists we're all born in sin, fallen, children of the devil, and need its rules and commands to help us control ourselves. To indicate just how turned around our culture has become, on this issue. The Greek word from which demon comes, daemon, simply means guiding spirit or guardian angel. So Jacob Singer's chiropractor has it right. Demons and angels are the same thing. It's just a matter of how you look at it. This is also the use of the word in Philip Pullman's award-winning children's novel, The Northern Lights, in which everyone is born with a demon, just like the Greeks said, in the form of an animal spirit that accompanies them throughout their entire lives. In the book, however, the church, which enforces a theocratic society, has invented a technology called intercision to sever the bond between children and their demons, their very souls, so that ostensibly they can lead happier lives, though they really become morose, depressed shells of who they once were, of who they are meant to be. It's the same with the Exorcist movie. Same story, in which the church and its priests rush in to save a little girl from acting childishly. Grow up, attende domine. Accept what you've been told, attende domine. Don't talk back, attende domine. Don't question the authorities, attende domine. Don't lose control. Don't let go, attende domine. Above all, don't express who you really are, attende domine. That's the exorcism. You just got exorcised. That's why the word demon and demonstrate or demonstrate share the same root, because expressing who we are, our originality, our authenticity, threatens the established ways and institutions. Yet in protecting the status quo, we must demonize our very souls, turning the very word that means soul, demon, into something that horrifies us. If I express myself, they won't love me. If I am who I am, I won't belong. The soul of each of us, psychologist James Hillman writes, is given a unique demon before we are born, and it has selected an image, a pattern for us to live out here on earth. Yet, as Erich Fromm once said, it is the aim of our education to teach the individual not to assert oneself. This is what the dream I had was getting at too. That part of me had leaped out the window with the priest during trauma watching The Exorcist 17 years earlier, and had also been locked up in a cell, unconscious all those years. But it wasn't something to fear or something unnatural. It was my very soul that had been locked away, and I had to embrace it and let it out in order to become fully human and to become fully myself. Several years later, in 1999, The Exorcist was re-released in the theaters after 25 years. I decided it was time to take the plunge. I took an afternoon off work, found it showing in the biggest theater in town. I entered, and to my chagrin, was the only person in the entire room. Nevertheless, I decided to go for the gusto. I went down to the middle row, walked into the middle seat, and sat there. I was actually pretty scared before the movie started, but once it started, I wasn't afraid. All I felt was compassion for that little girl who had been misunderstood and demonized by her parents and by her society and by her religion. That night, I had another dream. Every time I watch The Exorcist, I have a dream. This time I entered the school cafeteria, where everyone was being terrified by that possessed little girl from the film. She was inside in a rage, throwing things around, hurling obscenities. But rather than being afraid, I approached her, I hugged her, and I asked her to sit with me during lunch. And she did. Even though she kept that same demonic face from the movie, we enjoyed each other's company, and all I felt was love and compassion for her. I think my response in this dream demonstrates the awareness I gained that those we've been taught to fear because they are different than what the status quo expects them to be, are not demons, but people that we have demonized. Just as we must become whole as individuals by reconnecting with our own severed souls, our own demons, we cannot truly be whole unless, like our great mother, we embrace the souls of all folk, especially those who have been demonized. As in my dream, like Jesus, we must invite the outcast and the sinners and the unclean and the demon-possessed to sit at our welcome table and to eat together. Today, as I look back on all of this, I'm astounded and moved by the paradox of it. That the stuff of our nightmares can become the seeds of our dreams for a better future, better world, a more whole and inclusive and compassionate world. And the thing we're taught to fear possessing us is but the fear of fully possessing ourselves, of fully inhabiting our own lives, of having our own authentic beliefs and ways, and that our demons in the dark are really our angels of light. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. Relax. Wiggle your toes. Thank you.
We have a great song to end with today. I love this song. It's a freedom song, and it can, of course, apply not only to outer circumstances, but inner circumstances. So please rise as you're willing and able to sing I Wish I Knew How. It's number 151 in your hardback hymnal if you wish to look there or on the screen. Things like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing 'cause I'd know how it feels to be free. Then I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free.
I send you out now to share yourself with the world. May its promise and complexity set your mind ablaze. May you hold fast to what your life has taught you. May you question everything. And when you have changed the world and the world has changed you, may you return again to this place and share what you have learned with us. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.